You know what? It's not that ridiculous of an idea. And I realized that upon reading this post on the RHAB subreddit earlier this morning, and it's why we are diving into it here today. We are revisiting the Montreal Canadiens and the New Jersey Devils trade conversations, because they have been there. It's been very evident that the Habs and the Devils have been linked in some respect because of all of the Jake Evans talk. This has been discussed yesterday. We discussed this the other day as well. Pierre LeBrun spoke about it, and it's been an overlapping idea that says that the New Jersey Devils, with their top two center depth being as deep as it is, Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes, you can't go wrong with that, with those guys being the players that they are, there is room for extra centers throughout the rest of the lineup. Guys that can actually contribute, guys that can be penalty-killing forces, and just provide very stable, reliable play. Montreal Canadiens center Jake Evans, with his expiring contract, has been one of the main guys that people have been linking to New Jersey. Of course, we have discussed other names to the New Jersey Devils as well, like yesterday there was a video topic about Nick Kypreos. He had talked about Miller and Pettersson from Vancouver being potential fits with the Devils, but that's an entire other can of worms that I think you can only discuss if a Hughes brother goes back to Vancouver. But let's dive into this Reddit post that goes over the Montreal, New Jersey thing and talks about whether or not the Habs could realistically get their hands on one of the top defenseman prospects in the entire league. Take a look at this. Fantasy trade proposal of the day, Jake Evans plus for Simon Nemec. Pierre LeBrun reported that if the Habs can't get Evans extended on a good deal, the Devils have shown interest in trading for him. Meanwhile, Simon Nemec, the second overall pick in 2022, gave an interview in Slovakian about the difficult situation he has been with in New Jersey, among other things saying that it's hard to say. It's still too early to request a trade. If this situation continues, it'll have to be addressed. But for now, this is how it stands. And then linked is a tweet where the Nemec quote comes from. It's Tomasz Prokop, who tweeted this out earlier yesterday. Nemec says in the tweet here, "I've gone through my toughest playing period of my career. It's over now and I'm playing my hockey again." Scrolling down throughout the thread, you can see the same thing. It's still too early to request a trade. If this situation continues, it'll have to be addressed, but for now, this is how it stands. Sometimes it feels like NHL games were easier compared to the AHL. The Farm League is really tough with the grinding and the battling. I believe I've proven multiple times that I belong in the National Hockey League. I just have to wait for another chance and grab it when it comes. I wouldn't say I'm an ultra-offensive defenseman. I'd love to have a balanced role in the National Hockey League both offensively and defensively. That's what suits me best. And so, going back over onto the RHAB's post, the poster here says that Kent Hughes needs to be all over Simon Nemec, how you could force some sort of a trade proposal that has Jake Evans plus some other stuff in exchange for Nemec. I'd pitch Evans plus Mailloux or Engstrom and Calgary's first as a starting point and add some lower tier prospects and picks if needed, or Armia if they want to gear up for the run this year. Imagine a right decor of Carrier, Nemec, and Reinbacher. And this is interesting, this trade proposal, this situation in general, because depending on how you view Nemec and the entire process in which he's been developing in New Jersey, it'll really shape how you receive this information. Because one of the top comments goes out there and says, "Hey, no offense, but New Jersey laughs at that trade proposal." The top reply says, though, at this point, why would they laugh? Nemec is a +3 D-man not in the NHL. He doesn't have top 5 pick value anymore. David Jiricek in Columbus was just dealt for less than that. This is the equivalent of someone wanting Reinbacher for a middling prospect, a late first, and a bottom 6C who's due for a pay raise. We would laugh in their face. It's a completely different situation, the Identify Spell says. New Jersey doesn't have room for him. They're going to have to trade someone eventually, and I can't imagine that Nemec is super happy with the situation either. Also, I hate to break it to you, but David Reinbacher's trade value is rock bottom right now. He had a disastrous draft plus 1 year, not entirely his fault, and his knee blew up 2 games into the preseason. What you listed is exactly what we would get if we were shopping him right now. And so, you have to start trying to objectively view prospects and progression stories within the context of the league and within the context of their teams in order to fully get a picture as to what might actually be appropriate. Yes, Simon Nemec was a second overall pick. His sky-high value was, at one point, nearly untouchable for the New Jersey Devils. Like, imagine getting Nemec and Luke Hughes in the same pairing long-term. That would be amazing. You would have two top defensemen on the team. You know how everybody says, oh yeah, they're a number one defenseman? Well, imagine if you had two number one defensemen. Both of those guys, Luke Hughes and Simon Nemec, could be that. But the Devils are in a timeline where they want to win right now. Their window of opportunity is right now. Sure, they are young. Hischier, drafted 2017. Jack Hughes, drafted 2019. Luke Hughes, drafted 2021. They have time to breathe. If they don't win it this year, they can win it next year. They're good enough to do that. But if they would prefer to win it this year, maybe trading a guy like Simon Nemec, whose value isn't really all too great because he's in the AHL and he's now making interviews in Slovakia and talking about how he might be able to request a trade soon, you have to start considering all possibilities. Now, Simon Nemec this year has 16 points in 23 games with the Utica Comets. Last year, he had 19 points in 60 NHL games. So the production is decent, I'm not going to lie. It's not the best in the world, but still, I mean, the guy's only 20 years old playing in the AHL. He's doing fine. He's been over a point per game in his last recent games here, too, for the Utica Comets. So there's definitely been a lot of mojo here. Actually, yeah, he had a 5-point game earlier yesterday against the Hartford Wolfpack. 2 goals and 3 assists. How ridiculous is that for a defenseman to go out there with a 5-point game? Anyways, Nemec has been pretty good. Still solid. I think that he still has the ceiling that he has, but with the slower development and with him being in the AHL, this is almost exactly like that David Jiricek situation that we had seen in Columbus. And as we all remember, he did get traded after a lengthy argumentative process where, hey, he was up and down and he wanted to get more minutes, and the acquisition of Dante Fabro in Columbus just made David Jiricek's job even more difficult to fully grasp onto. It was never going to be easy for him to break onto that Columbus team, even though they had a whole bunch of names that you could say, oh, why is he playing over Jiricek? Why is Damon Severson playing over Jiricek? Why is Jordan Harris playing over Jiricek? Guess what? Jiricek got traded with a 5th in exchange for Damon Hunt and future draft picks. I'm sorry, but that kind of sucks when you look at it on paper. David Jiricek was drafted 6th overall in 2022, and he went from that to getting traded for future draft picks, quote-unquote? I'm sorry, but Simon Nemec is going through a very similar situation here, so he's not going to fetch like an incredibly high amount of value on the market, especially now that he's talking about getting traded publicly in the media. So should Kent Hughes take advantage of this? Could he take advantage of this? Is the stemming part of all of this a Jake Evans trade proposal? I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as to whether or not you can see some sort of a Jake Evans ++ in exchange for Simon Nemec type of deal. Is it possible? Is it likely? Do you want to see this go down? Let me know in the comment section below. What do you think? Devils fans, Habs fans, let me know in the comment section how do you feel. I hope you enjoyed this British Roll 9, and bye.